Has there ever been anything that you've wanted to do so badly that you couldn't stop thinking about it? The thought of it has been lingering for months, maybe years, and every time you try talking to somebody about it, they seem to think that you're a little crazy. They wonder if you're okay. They might say things like, "That's ridiculous. Nobody could do that. It's too risky. You're too old. You can't afford it. You need to stop dreaming." And yet, your imagination has got a grip on it that won't let go. A North Hollywood man by the name of Larry Walters knew exactly what that was like. When he was a boy, he wanted to grow up to be a pilot. And when he was 13 years old, he went to a military surplus store and he saw these weather balloons hanging from a ceiling. And he thought to himself, I wonder what would happen if you tied these to a lawn chair. Would it take flight? And he just couldn't stop thinking about it. When he got to be older, he tried to enlist in the Air Force, but they wouldn't take him because he had poor eyesight. So instead, he became a truck driver. And yet, this dream was still alive and roaming around inside his head. He must have talked to his wife or his girlfriend about it because they hatched a plan. She went out and she bought 45 weather balloons and some helium tanks, and he bought everything else, including the lawn chair. So in July of 1982, they decided that this was when it was going to happen. On the 2nd of July, he tied all these balloons to his lawn chair, anchored it to the bumper of his truck, and attached all these water jugs, and he packed sandwiches, 2 liters of Coca-Cola, a CB radio, a case of beer, a pellet gun, and a camera. I think that's about it. All he really wanted to do was maybe float high enough to get above the houses in his neighborhood. But his real dream was to float across the Mojave Desert. Of course, once you get up there, you don't really control the direction. Well, while he was waiting for official permission to be able to do this, the line came unattached from the truck bumper, and he took off. And he took off much faster than he had anticipated. He didn't float just above the housetops, the roofs of the house. He actually lifted to over 16,000 feet quickly and began to drift away. He actually got inside of the LAX airspace and began to panic. So people that he was in communication with were able to notify the airport that he was entering their territory and that he is okay, but they needed them to know. And after 45 minutes, he realized, I need to start popping some of these balloons. But he was afraid to do it because he knew once he did it that the chair would move some, and he wasn't sure if it'd be balanced right. By the way, he was wearing a parachute, and he did name his little aircraft Inspiration 1. But like I said, he was afraid to start popping balloons because he wasn't sure what that would do to his seat. Anyway, so here he is up really, really high in the sky, and he pops a balloon or two, and after that, he drops his pellet gun. So now he's left to the whim of the wind, right? And even though he brought a camera, he didn't take any pictures. He did slowly descend, and when he finally came down, he landed in some power lines, and he was okay, but it caused a blackout that lasted for 20 minutes. Police were waiting for him, and reporters were too, and they asked him, "Why did you do this?" He says, "A man can't just sit around." Makes perfect sense, right? A man can't just sit around. See, he knew that if he wanted to see his dream come true, he had to make it happen. He could no longer just sit around and wait to see if it was going to land on him. And yes, it was risky. He probably didn't make the best calculations, obviously. It could have been tragic, but you know what would have been more tragic is if he didn't try at all. At least now he knows. He did later on say, "I would never do it again." Other people have tried it. Some have succeeded. Some have failed poorly. But, when you take a chance and you start to plan, you hatch a plan and you decide, I'm going to do what I've always been thinking of, everybody's not going to have your back. They're not necessarily going to believe in that the way you do. But it's up to you. Now, I would say calculate carefully, consider the cost and the risk, and be mindful, but don't count yourself out. Don't wait for the approval of others. If you take that chance, it's like they say, if you shoot for the stars, you might hit the moon. Well, that's what Larry Walters did. He hit the moon. And while sometimes you don't get necessarily what you want when you do these outlandish things, when you try to actually chase your dreams and your goals, you don't always get what you want, but you might get something else. And you'll certainly see the world from a different point of view that others could only dream of. I mean, in our wildest imaginations, we've all thought of what it would be like to grab a hold of a balloon and sail through the air like some storybook character, or to float to the earth with an umbrella, right? We've all thought about stuff like that. I've actually tried the umbrella thing. Didn't work. Went horribly wrong. But what I'm trying to tell you is whatever you've got, playing Pong in your head, these ideas, ask yourself, what are the possibilities of making that happen? What if I just tried a little bit? No one's going to have my back. People are probably going to make fun of me. They're going to wonder if I'm okay. But, a man can't just sit around and do nothing. All right. Think about that. Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you listening. I hope this has inspired you to take a step in the direction that you've been thinking about for a long time. Let me know what happens. All right, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. In the meantime, be wise.